What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel as well as on Twitch, so make sure you come by and say hello. This video is also brought to you by my music, which is available anywhere you stream music under the name Aftersound, and I do have a new song out recently called Dreamin', so check it out. Let me know what you think, and I appreciate the support. Okay, guys, I want to give a shout out here to AzurCon for putting this post together, and a shout out to Beaker007 as well for compiling the data or pulling the data and just offering it to us. We don't have this in like full tools yet. Hopefully that'll get built out over time with all the different third parties, but this is the first look that we're getting at it. And you know, AzurCon is sitting here saying, or at least what prompted this was Aggie asking the question, what I'm looking for is a little different. I want to know for all Praetoria how much production is currently producing each of these different resources. So there's a really cool graph here that looks at both the raw as well as boosted production for everything in Praetoria, right? And we're going to see this across all the different resources as well as SPS, research, and then keeps and castles. So most of this should be relatively self-explanatory. I'll go into it and we'll talk about the data first, and then I'll give my analysis at the end. You can see here that our raw production for grain is at about 150 million. Actually, you know what? Let's look at the numbers here because you can see it. Over 150 million for grain, but boosted up to almost 250. You can see where it is for iron and wood. Those are about the same in terms of a raw as well as boosted perspective. Stone, on the other hand, is lower both on the raw as well as boosted. But here's what's interesting. SPS and research are still nearly identical, both at the raw and boosted. And then you have your keeps and castles, right? So this shows all of the production. Now, getting back to this graph, I am actually shocked to see how much SPS and research production there still is, just because I've seen so much chatter about turning off research until people can get a handle on their resources, and then SPS just not really being worth it, especially with survival mode being such an SPS gold mine, we'll call it, right? People, if you were on the live stream earlier, or last week, I should say, there was an announcement that Neil McSpadden, you know, one of the OGs in the game, was essentially taking everything off of land, all the cards off land, to go play in survival mode. And that, I mean, I cannot imagine he was the only one doing that. Just the opportunity there is significantly higher. So my guess is that we will continue to see more production leave SPS and research over the next couple of weeks, maybe even the next couple of months. Because keep in mind, the team is working on a use case and utility for research, but at this point in time, you know, there's been a lot of research inflation already, and it probably, if they're trying to get it out for Conclave Arcana, that might be another month and a half to 2 months away, right? Just realistically speaking, hopefully less, but I mean, I'm recording this towards the end of March, and unless they get it out mid-May, right, that'd be like a month and a half. So the only thing, so aside from that being surprising, I would say that it's interesting that people are just not valuing stone. I know there's like the mithril mafia for iron, and wood seems to be very much in production as well. But what I'm curious about is the amount of land plots that are dedicated to stone, right? I'm wondering, and we don't have that information here, unfortunately, or at least if it is, I didn't see it, but we don't know how many are producing stone. In fact, you know what? Now that I say that out loud, I'm curious. Well, we can find out. You know what? Here's the thing. If you go to the land thing, we can find out just how many are able to produce stone, but we don't know how many are actually being worked. So all we have at the end of the day is just the production. So, and you know what? This isn't broken out by resource. So let's put a pause on that, and we'll come back to that in a future video. So at the end of the day, it's not surprising to me that we're seeing grain still the highest. I mean, that is always going to be, you know, in my opinion, one of the most desired resources. Again, not to say that like it's going to shoot up in value, but it's required across everything. And so, again, none of this information is necessarily surprising when it comes to grain or when it comes to keeps and castles, right? The only thing that I was looking at is seeing how much production was still going towards SPS and research at this point in time, and if we're going to quantify what kind of impact it could have if we see, you know, 160 million production for each SPS and research start to decrease, and maybe get some of that, you know, maybe even half of that get diverted over into the other resources. We could get more resource production, which would actually bring down the value of resources, which could make things interesting, right? So at this point, it's too hard to tell where the equilibrium is going to be. We have not settled into any kind of, market equilibrium yet, and that wasn't the expectation, right? Obviously, markets will trend to be more efficient, but I think if we're going to be getting a lot of different, we'll call them like stones thrown into the water that create these ripples. So, for example, we know that research utility is coming, but it's kind of further down the road. SPS is, sitting at almost half a penny, or zero point 0.6 of a penny right now, or I guess 0.7. If that starts to go up, right, if the market starts to pick up, or if the market dumps, that could change a lot of behavior around SPS as well. But at this point in time, it's still too difficult to figure out where all of this is going to end up. My fear, my concern, I've talked about this before, is that we're going to get into a situation where we're gonna have too many resources, right? Because SPS and research are supposed to be the things that consume iron, wood, and stone, right? Iron, wood, and stone are always going to consume gold, but what we don't want to see is just too much inflation on these resources. But as I said earlier, there's a couple of things that could come down the road. Hopefully with SPS, if there's a potential price rise, that could make things a little bit more appealing for folks to work SPS on land. And of course, the research token utility that could be coming in. So once again, shout out to Agrod for asking the question, Azrakhan and Beaker for putting this together. Just wanted to share some of these raw numbers with you, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if any of this data surprised you at all, or if it didn't. But that is all I have for you guys in this video. I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the game. Take care.